Good afternoon. I'm Graziella Web's president in Brussels. This year, Web decided to organize, together with Deloitte, 4 webinars according to Web's main pillars of actions: financial empowerment, innovation and education, networks for women, government policy supporting female entrepreneurship. Today, webinars deal with innovation, education, and how can AI help women to transform their work. We know that AI and women works is a women issue for several key reasons rooted in historical inequalities, structural bias, and opportunity gaps. Artificial intelligence with digital transition is transforming every aspect of our lives, from communication to transportation to healthcare. But the gender gap in tech remains a major challenge. In this webinar, we will explore how women have leveraged in taking a leading role in shaping the future of AI, from career paths and training opportunities to entrepreneurship. Our panel highlights the tools, stories, and strategies that empower women in the digital world, together with the challenges that come along. Today, Web, Deloitte, and FEDEP are here to speak about these topics, trying to give an outlook of the real positive possibilities AI can give to women. So I will give the floor to Maurice Bruggen, who will present the panelists. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Grazia. It's a pleasure for me to be here and to be allowed to promote this and to moderate this panel. We will have 3 expert speakers speaking this afternoon, and we're very curious about how they analyze the situation and what kind of remedies they might propose for the challenges ahead. We have stations, as I said, 3 experts. The procedures will be that the 3 experts will speak during roughly 10 minutes, one after the other, and that the Q&As will be, particularly the answers will be given at the end of the 3 presentations, but you can hand in your questions always directly through the various chat boxes, and we'll look at them, and we'll pose these questions then to the panelists at the end of the 3 sessions. So let's move on. Without further ado, I would like to present you the first expert on the matter, who is Ivana Azzolini, who's a lawyer and partner at Deloitte Legal, and she brings over 25 years of experience in employment law and human HR consultancy. And Ivana is committed to fostering inclusive workplaces and driving organizational growth, becoming a trusted advisor and advocate in the ever-evolving world of employment law. So Ivana is going to speak about digital innovation. The floor is yours, Ivana.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Maurice. Thank you, Grazia. Thank you to all the panelists. Good afternoon to the whole audience, and thank you for having me to present a few thoughts in respect of a very wide and relevant topic, which is the digital transition. In particular, how it can transform education, work, and society. This is a topic that in Deloitte Legal is considered of utmost importance. So it's a real pleasure to share a few comments, a few arguments with you. So let's start with some context. The digital revolution is profoundly reshaping how we live, work, and learn. In Europe, the acceleration of the digital transition is bringing significant changes to education and training systems, particularly for the younger generation. While digital transformation holds great promise, it also exposes existing structural weaknesses. Let's try to see some data. According to the STEM Observatory 2024, only 26.6% of university students in Europe are enrolled in STEM-related fields. This is quite interesting. Even more striking, over 70% of students in STEM programs expect to change jobs within just 3 years. This is a lot to take in respect of the so-called war for talents. In any case, this speaks to a broader uncertainty about the future and a growing need for flexible, lifelong learning opportunities. Young people are signaling that traditional educational pathways are no longer enough to ensure professional stability. This, of course, is a topic of high importance for young talents, but also a real topic of interest, a real point of interest for the whole business environment. In this evolving landscape, artificial intelligence emerges as both a challenge but also an opportunity. On the one hand, AI can accelerate the access to knowledge, streamline the learning processes, and personalize education pathways. On the other hand, it raises serious questions about equity, ethics, and the quality of training, particularly in terms of who gets access to AI-related opportunities and who gets left behind. Focusing on impact on women, we can say that as we consider access and opportunity, gender disparities remain a central concern. Despite progress in some areas, women continue to be underrepresented in the digital economy, and more specifically in AI-related roles. Only 20% of professionals in AI technical roles are women, and just 60% of software developers globally identify themselves as female. In the academic world, only 27% of European students in engineering and 28.3% in ICT are women. This entails a high inequality in how the AI environment will be shaped in the near future. The STEM Observatory also highlights a crucial factor. Although girls perform as well or even better than boys in math and science in early education, they tend to have significantly less confidence in their abilities. This confidence gap strongly influences their decision to avoid STEM degrees and careers. In Italy, for example, women make up only 15% of STEM graduates, and their presence in PhD programs and research roles instead remains limited. These gaps are rooted in a range of barriers: the lack of role models, the limited mentorship, the unconscious bias in recruitment and career advancement, and the educational environments that fail to promote STEM as an inclusive space for girls. Addressing this imbalance requires a systemic approach, starting from early education and extending into workplace policy and culture. Research consistently shows that organizations with diverse leadership teams are more innovative, more financially successful, and better prepared to handle complex challenges. But there's more to see and to say, because after the study in university, the research career path, the development of activity should come under the lens. Let's talk about entrepreneurship. In fact, female entrepreneurship should take into account barriers, biases, and opportunities also in the AI era. In fact, the intersection of AI and entrepreneurship reveals both risks and opportunities. Entrepreneurship is a critical space for innovation and independence, yet women remain underrepresented among startup founders and business owners. According to the OECD, there is a striking gap in entrepreneurial confidence. Only 43% of women feel prepared to start a business, compared to 53% of men. This gap is linked not only to an alleged lack of entrepreneurial skills, such as managerial abilities, personal traits, and technical competencies, but, as a matter of fact, also to a lack of confidence. Half of women surveyed cited fear of failure as a major deterrent to launching business. AI offers new tools for entrepreneurship, from automating tasks to optimizing operations, but it also risks reinforcing inequalities, particularly in areas such as access to finance. One example is credit scoring algorithms used by banks and fintech companies to assess the creditworthiness of loan applicants. These algorithms are typically trained on historical data, which often reflect existing gender biases. As a result, even when women have similar or better financial records than men, they may be assigned lower credit scores or receive less favorable loan terms. This, of course, is something substantial in an entrepreneurship environment. Studies by Women's World Banking have confirmed that these systems tend to disadvantage women, limiting their access to capital needed for starting or expanding a business. And when the reported cases involved the Apple Card, which was found to consistently offer lower credit limits to female applicants, even where their credit histories matched or exceeded those of their male counterparts. In this respect, AI is a way to continue a bias which was originally grounded in a men's approach. However, despite these challenges, closing the gender gap in entrepreneurship represents a significant opportunity for inclusive growth worth millions of euros, according to analytical studies. Women-led businesses also contribute to greater innovation, job creation, and sustainability, often prioritizing social impact and environmental responsibility. This is another side to consider. So there is a different way to women's entrepreneurship, which can take care of a wider picture in respect of the sole business prioritization. Then we need to take into account also another side, the younger generation. As said, we start speaking about students who have a specific view of which will be their professional career development. It is important to consider the point of view and impact of AI on the younger generation, as far as young people are at the heart of the AI-driven economy. As a matter of fact, they are eager to learn and quick to adapt. According to the 2025 Deloitte Gen Z and Millennial Survey, 70% of Gen Z surveyed report learning new skills weekly, often through self-guided resources and informal platforms. However, the strong desire for development is not always supported by formal institutions. Nearly 1/3 of Gen Z and millennials chose not to pursue higher education, citing high costs and unclear returns on investment. So it's a completely different and original way to look at the educational path. Many of them feel that traditional education no longer equips them for the real demands of the job market. In this context, AI's growing presence in the workplace is both exciting and anxiety-inducing. More than 60% of young people fear that AI will reduce opportunities for entry-level jobs. And this is something which is already in very specialistic job happening. This has profound implications not only for employment, but also for talent acquisition strategies, onboarding processes, and long-term career development. This is a topic for everybody who is involved in the business environment. At the same time, today's youth are not just skill-hungry, they are values-driven. Over 50% of Gen Z and millennials say they would choose to work for a company that aligns with their personal beliefs and long-term goals. For employers, this is really a new challenge. For them, this means that purpose-driven leadership and inclusive work cultures are no longer optionals. They are essentials for attracting and retaining talent. Again, this could be another angle according to which women's entrepreneurship could provide a wider and more profound insight. Conscious of time, I'd like to head to a preliminary conclusion, let's say, for this first speech. As we navigate the complex terrain of digital transformation, our collective challenge is to ensure that technological progress goes hand in hand with social inclusion. AI must not become a force of exclusion, but rather a catalyst for empowerment, participation, and human development. To achieve this, businesses, policymakers, educational institutions must work collaboratively to promote an equal access to AI-related education resources, foster inclusive and diverse work environments, invest in lifelong learning programs that reflect the realities of a rapidly evolving labor market. Ultimately, the goal is not simply to keep up with the pace of technological change, but to shape it in a way that reflects our shared values of equality, opportunity, and human dignity for all. If we want a future where technology works for everyone, we must make space for women to lead, innovate, and thrive. Supporting women entrepreneurs, especially in the age of AI, means unlocking untapped potential, driving inclusive growth, and ensuring that the digital economy reflects the diversity of our societies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ivana. This inspiring presentation. You mentioned a lot of elements that I'm sure are worthwhile asking some further questions about. Really great stuff. But we have to move on to the next speaker. And the next speaker for this conference will be Ana Nieto, who is a graduate from Complutense University in Madrid, a holder of a master's degree in journalism from El País, and she has covered economics and business for various European outlets. Anna is going to speak us now about the role of women in AI and the tech industry. So Anna, the floor is yours.
I work in the United States, and I'm a member of the board of directors of the Spanish Federation of Women Directors, Executives, Professionals, and Entrepreneurs. FEDEPE is a nonprofit, pluralistic, and independent organization founded in 1987. And on behalf of an organization that brings together 27,000 women, I thank Gracia Rendo, WEP, and Deloitte for organizing this gathering, and welcome the audience and my fellow panelists to this Encuentro Coloquio that also has the support of Ministry of Labor and Social Economy of Spain. I want to take the opportunity to provide you with an overview of the evolving situation and focus in some aspects of women and entrepreneurship in a moment when the transformation that AI brings is now recognized as the fourth industrial revolution. And I would like to begin by sharing a quote of The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. In one of the characters of the book explains how a life-changing event occurs. His explanation is, first gradually, then suddenly. AI has been with us for many years, but the moment of impact, this moment of no return with generative AI and LLMs, the suddenly moment is already here. The changes ahead are existential for the global economy and society, and women must not and cannot remain on the sidelines. Neither women professionals nor women entrepreneurs can afford to miss this train or end up in the last car again, not only for the benefit of women, but also for a more inclusive society. The current gender gap in tech isn't just a women's issue. It has economics and societal consequences and implications. Diverse teams are proven time and time again to be more innovative and productive, and fair competition is positive for all. A lack of diversity can stifle creativity and limit our abilities to solve problems. According to McKinsey, closing the gender gap could have added an estimated 12 trillion to the GDP by 2025, this very year, and is not in the forecast. It is important that women can compete in the business world and be a force of creation of wealth, but also because this growing technology is not neutral. It is urgently that there will be more women involved and being leaders from the inside of AI. With this in mind, let me address the situation of women-led companies in any field, goods and services providers, and AI, the role of this technology in their business. Jensen Huang, whom you may know, CEO of NVIDIA, the company behind the world's most advanced AI chips, recently said something that caught my attention. He said that you're not going to lose your job to an AI, but you're going to lose your job to somebody who uses AI. He was discussing about labor and pointing out the much feared replacement scenario, but instead the augmenting scenario in which AI will work to enhance human potential. Now, let's take Hank's comment and apply it to women entrepreneurs. The takeaway is that women entrepreneurs will be more competitive with these tools, but they won't be competitive without them. AI is already transforming the entrepreneurial landscape, and for women-led business and adopting AI tools in operations should be a top priority. Otherwise, the risk falling behind competitors who are already leveraging these tools is very real. But according to a recent study by Digital Data Design Institute at Harvard, women entrepreneurs are adopting new technologies at a significantly lower rate than their male counterparts. The researchers found that women are nearly 20% less likely than men to engage directly with generative AI tools. This gap, they emphasize, is not limited to specific industries, regions, or job types. It's a global trend. Among the explanations given to understand these gaps is that women were less familiar with them than men. One reason is that women tend to work in firms and jobs that have less exposure to new technology, and this translates through professional networks. However, this institute at Harvard has also found that women appear to be concerned about the potential cost of relying on computer-generated information, particularly if it's perceived as unethical or cheating. The reason here is that perceived or fact, and this is, I am quoting one of the authors, women face greater penalties in being judged as not having expertise in different fields. They might be worried that someone would think, even though they got the answer right, that they are cheating by using ChatGPT, for instance. The consequence is that women entrepreneurs can be left behind and not take advantage of opportunities offered by tools that can help them level the playing field and enhance productivity. Tools that help with automating repetitive tasks like email management, scheduling, inventory, accounting, help with decision-making using data-driven tools to gain a better and deeper understanding of the markets and the customers. Tools facilitating brainstorming, enhanced communications with foreign providers or customers, a more personalized customer experience, marketing that can be planned more efficiently. Another advantage was recently reported by the Female Founders Alliance in the United States. Women were especially optimistic about AI because they see it as a way to reduce reliance on external capital that is traditionally hard to raise among investors. Traditionally, access to credit is also limited, as Ivana has mentioned. According to Alejandra Carrasco, a World Bank analyst, women entrepreneurs globally face a staggering 1.7 trillion financing gap. The hope is not that there is a straightforward solution, but that AI will reduce operational cost and increase productivity, making it easier to raise capital or reduce the need for it. That doesn't solve the gap problem. Can AI go further? AI systems are not neutral, and biases can exacerbate these problems. But Carrasco from the World Bank believes that there is a path in which AI will be, for example, used to analyze alternative ways to evaluate creating approvals, as Ivana mentioned, for people who lack a formal borrowing history, and that is definitely a plus for women. This technology can also offer customized financial guidance for specific needs without changing risking profiles. There is hope, but there are risks. AI can amplify biases because it is fed by data from the internet that is not free from any of these biases or structures that have traditionally left women and minorities behind. Regarding biases, let me share with you that I asked ChatGPT and Gemini by Google why women entrepreneurs needed AI. I asked the same question about men. Can we have the pictures? ¿Podemos tener las fotos? I received similar answers, but with a twist. In both systems, they stressed that efficiency and productivity could help women to better balance their professional and personal lives. In fact, ChatGPT, the other picture, la otra foto, suggested that women will have more time for caretaking. None of them offered this possibility when I asked about male entrepreneur. Now, how can we ensure that women take advantage of an inclusive AI? Closing the gender gap in tech requires a multifaceted approach. Companies, investors, financial institutions, AI companies, government, as a collective force, have to take a specific step to foster equity and inclusivity. And here are some ideas. Work to close the digital gap. Make it easier for women to access the tools that can empower them, so that society, families, school, companies, social media can provide education against the subtleties of the very damaging imposter syndrome derived from systems that reinforce feelings of self-doubt and inadequacy in women. In terms of finance, the World Bank analysts suggest implementing a gender-responsive AI framework that actively adjusts for historical data bias rather than perpetuating it. Establish AI ethics standards ensures that AI does not exacerbate already existing and often widen gender gaps, such as the wage gap. From UNESCO's, it is suggested that we should ensure that national digital policies include a gender action plan and develop relevant policies targeted at supporting girls and women to make sure that they are not left out of the digital economy powered by AI and ensure harassment-free environments. And of course, there is an urgent need to diversify AI companies and teams that build the systems and tools to ensure AI-driven financial tools empower rather than exclude. UNESCO signals that female entrepreneurship is encouraged and its participation and engagement in all stages of AI system life cycle by offering and promoting economic is needed. We need regulatory incentives among other incentives and support schemes. Women have to be at the forefront of these innovations, and they are not. The representation of women in tech has not improved, and this is the area where most leaders need to emerge in the sector. Figures from the World Economic Forum shows that women are only 22% of AI talent globally, with even lower representation at senior level, less than 14% of senior executive roles in AI. Within the EU, the disparity is no better. Europe has close to 75% of its gender gap, with Sweden and Germany among the top 5 European economies in that. But Germany and Sweden have some of the lowest female representation in their AI workforce in the EU. This discrepancy raises questions about the unique barriers faced by women in the AI field and how to demolish these barriers. Here are some ideas, but I hope we can debate further. Companies need to implement robust diversity and inclusion policies, offer mentorship programs, regular courses and certifications, provide an unbiased training for professional development, provide equal opportunities in paths to promotion and transparency regarding them. Additionally, promoting flexible work arrangements that can help retain female talent. But I hope we can discuss this further. Thank you very much.
That was, again, a lot to digest, some very worrying figures indeed, that should wake us up all, and that action is required. We have already some interesting questions coming in, so I invite all those who listen either through YouTube or this channel, send in your questions and we will pose them to the panel after the last presentation is made. And this last presentation will be done by Cristina Aranda, who has a PhD in linguistics and is an expert in AI, innovation, and digital transformation. She advises companies and governments, co-founded Mujeres Tech and other tech initiatives, and actively promotes diversity and inclusion in the tech sector. So, Cristina, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Moritz, and thank you everyone who is connected right now, who can see this video after. Thank you, Felipe, for the invitation. And I'm going to go with my presentation. I am a specialist on natural language processing, but now why everybody is talking about in artificial intelligence, in every talk, in barbecues, in everywhere, because we are living different key things that they are growing. First of all, there are the hardware, and I mentioned NVIDIA company. There is one of the top, because the video graphic images processing, there is a very impact in the artificial intelligence industry, because we can process with this hardware very cheaper, with cheapest and faster. this data. So Internet of Things, and we are generating all the time with these sensors and with all our devices, or we with our cellular phones, data. This is amount of data, but we have to clean this data if we want to do something with artificial intelligence. When we clean 80% of the time of artificial intelligence of the a project of artificial intelligence, we have to focus on cleaning. We are cleaning all this data. So when we have this data cleaned, we start to do things as, for example, robotics, personalize a process, make a prediction if someone is going to out of my team, for example, or one client is going to out of my company, is talking about churn or automation. But the really impact thing that is going to change all the industry of the artificial intelligence sector is our amazing natural language processing, because few years ago, we have to know programming languages as, for example, Python, Java, and managing libraries or managing database. Now we are making instructions with the AI, generative AIs, with large language models. But focus on the definition of artificial intelligence. Who defined this? So you can see this group of people that in 1956 in a Dartmouth conference. You can realize that they are all men, all black men, all black men. No, I'm sorry, all white, middle-aged. Well, middle-aged when they are younger, but they are black. They are white. They are men. They are Jewish Christians. There is no diversity in this picture. There is no diversity in the definition, because the definition, they define artificial intelligence as the same level of human intelligence. They were comparing a person as a machine, and we are so multidimensional. The emotions, the social interactions, all the physiology, all the spirituality. So we can get a huge challenge in this definition, as we are going to see before. So there is two types of artificial intelligence among Russell and Norvig. There are teachers of Stanford. There's person machine. So there are systems that think and act like humans, and machine to machine. And there are systems that they try to use this system. And as for example, if you see this car, there are 7 computers inside on board that are talking each other and to make decisions, because the artificial intelligence get this data, extract the patterns of this data, and start to do things from these patterns. So, but we don't have any regulation. Yes, in Europe we have a act, we were going to see, but in the countries that they are developing this technology, they don't have any. And now a few minutes to connect in this event, I have seen the Apple CEO that they're talking about that the regulation is to stop the innovation. So we have to change these narratives, because we need regulation to self-care of the citizens and to self-care the democracies. So how is the challenge of the opportunity of the AI? So I love this. The economists are. We can use, as I said before, we use our language with all these resources, these artificial intelligence generative platforms, and there are someone that they are open source, not only DeepSeek, also Vicuna. But these artificial intelligence generative platforms, they are training using all the data of internet, or the data Wikipedia, but they are not cleaning. They are using mathematical algorithms. They are using machine learning. They do not. These systems don't understand our language. So is this reason that, and I said before, there is a lot of bias in there. So we have to take care about that, no? Because as we say, if you garbage in, garbage out. If your data is a garbage, your system is going to be garbage. So we have to have diversity in the teams, to change the culture, the mindset, because it's not a question of technology, it's the question of the society. As as Amy Bird say in her amazing book, is the machines is a question of the society, it's not a question of the sector. So here we have to start with the culture, because the culture is a strategy. So if we and then we have to change the narrative of artificial intelligence is a very is very something that is going along for the streets over there. No. There are people that they are deciding. They take decisions about how they use the artificial intelligence, how this artificial intelligence is going to impact in the society, how this technology is going to impact in our young people through the social medias, for example. So this is if you can see the picture is not changed about from the Dartmouth conference of Dartmouth. There's a white man, they're middle-aged, Judeo-Christian, straight people, no LGBT people. So there's no diversity there. So if we have to launch a product to the market, if we launch, for example, this toy, the toy industry has to pass several steps, several legal steps to launch this toy. In another side, in the opposite side, if you develop artificial intelligence, you can upload and then you can use, as for example, a deepfake platform that the young people can use against another peers of the class. As for example, happening here in Spain, there's several cases of suicide because they abuse of another colleagues of the class. So if we don't have regulation, if we don't have any ethical decalogue, any ethical mindset, how these people, how the boss, how the CEOs of the AI companies decide? According to Amos Tversky, Daniel Kahneman, and Richard Thaler, there are Nobel Prizes, economical Nobel Prizes. We decide from system one, based on intuitions, based on heuristic biases. So is the reason if we don't have diversity in this group of the decision makers, and we don't have diversity in the groups of the developing groups of artificial intelligence, we find something like this. We don't have artificial intelligence inclusive or trusted. So we can see in the translator systems, as for example, you can use doctor, nurse, and we translate to the Spanish. The women, we only can be enfermeras. And in another example, there is amount of samples. There is another example. There's a woman who upload her CV in a employment platform. And if you are a woman, the same CV, changing the names, but doing the same, with the same experience, with the same studies, you can see that the receptionist against a doctor, PhD doctor, or this Abdul Kader Abdid, he said in 2020, this is before 2 years before that OpenAI opened ChatGPT, he said, okay, I use the prompt, I use this instruction, linguistic instruction, two Muslims walking into a church, and the machine generates so sad and bad things that they do. So it will happen the same if we put to Christian or Judas, or what happened with the Cambridge Analytica when Meta sent the impacts in the democracy. So this is according to Google Trends. This is the the questions, the top questions that they about in the UK. So what it means to leave the European, or what is the European? So European Union. And another platforms of visual platforms or audiovisual. So we have to use a prompt, linguistical, and there is a lot of bias. As you see, Genius, there are only all men because they are training. I recommend you this amazing documentary. So we have to develop artificial intelligence. We have to focus on fairness, thinking about if my solution is going to fair, accountability. I have to be responsible of what I'm going to develop. Don't care that, don't sell the narratives that, I don't know what's happening. No, you are responsible. The asymmetry is the data. If I training on the machine with CVs of male CVs, I have to use the same number of the CVs of women. Or transparency. This is a huge. This is a very, very, very true impact because they don't want to be transparent. These companies, they don't want to be transparent. I have to accept what I'm doing with this technology and how I impact to the society. Ethics, we have to include the philosophy, we have to include the ethical in the decision maker level, and also developer. Education, we have to learn about this technology, what the privacy and diversity. So we have to ethical guidelines for trustworthy of artificial intelligence, and we have also a law in a European Union. But we need develop diversity, identity diversity. We know more gender in these teams, the decision maker teams and development teams, or racial, cultural, sexual, and cognitive diversity, working together at the same level with cooperated all the profiles. And François Cholet is the owner, and he has developed a platform that say a library, very important library, and he say this Karel. I used to think that machine learning, artificial intelligence people didn't know enough mathematicals, that this was limited in the field. Now I think the field needs more humanities. This is in 2050. There is a sample of when you use a diverse team, as for example, engineers, psychologists, psychiatrists. This project is amazing project leading by Dr. Ana Freire of University Pompeu Fabra. So this is a platform that they're training all these people gathering. They're training this machine to start define patterns related to high risk of suicide, depression, or eating disorders, and they push these messages, and so they are going to grow all the calls to the hope of phone. So how is the key strategies for promoting women's inclusion in artificial intelligence and technology? We have to target scholarship and mentorship programs. As for example, in Kenya, NA's education AI platform improve girls' math score by 20%, or creating inclusive technology education ecosystem, as Dr. Luz Reyo made with Detective by Change Dyslexia. She is a fellow of ASOCA fellow, or developing artificial intelligence system with diversity representation in design teams. I recommend the Data Ethic Canvas by Open Data Institute. And finally, implement policies, as Anna mentioned before, that support women technology education and career development. So as a policy brief, I shared, you can upload. So this is the end of humanity. No, this is the new era for humanities. This is a new era. We need diversity because the machine, they can, as we say in Spanish, remember, recordar. We have memory, recordar, but recordar is to back to the heart in Spanish. Recordum is in Latin. So we need this emotional side. The people needs people, the humor, emotion, empathy, awareness. So as Maya Angelou, this technology is only technology. is a way to get amazing things in the society, but also bad things. So we have to be very, very, very pay attention, promote regulation, start to ask transparency, because as Maya Angelou said, I have learned that people will forget what you say, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So thank you very much. In the Vidas Futuras, in my book, you can find more details, more things about that.
Thank you very much, Christina. If I would make a sum up of my emotional roller coaster on this, first you make us very, very afraid about all these things and what can happen, go wrong. And at the end, actually, you're very positive and optimistic, And so I feel much better now again.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. I think the floor now goes to all three panelists, and we've got the first question here, which I think is actually already being answered, because I will read it out loud now. If an algorithm learns from what we have written, should we be worried about how much hasn't been written by women or how we have been represented? I think three of you have concluded that these algorithms are basically written by middle-aged white men, that they are not very diverse. And there are even some percentages that you mentioned, around 20% of women in tech, 20% roughly involved in AI development and so on. So obviously these algorithms and these AI are bound to be biased. So if I may rephrase the question of the person who asked the question, what can we do about it? I mean, you mentioned already some solutions. Christina, you were actually very optimistic about it. At the end, this inclusiveness will enter into the system. Personally, I think I'm still a bit doubtful. What about the others, Anna and Ivana? Do you really think that algorithms and AI developments, without serious intervention of, I don't know, education, governments, will be more diverse in the future or not? So let's start with Ivana.
Thank you very much. As a matter of fact, I would like to take now the floor as lawyer, if you don't mind. I would like to say that what we are talking about is absolutely realistic, meaning that garbage in, garbage out is exactly what is going to happen. So we need to keep up a high attention on the way in which AI is created, is trained, is fed, in order to avoid the biases or prejudice are perpetrated by means of AI. But I would like to say one thing more. It's reasonable to be doubtful, right? On the other side, I must say that in the legal environment of the European Union, this topic seems to be well known and something starts to be considered. For example, AI Act and also the new directive on gender pay gap, they both very clearly spend words and provisions about the fact that transparency is something which is to be considered the most important tool to ensure a visibility of what is done by means of AI or a digital algorithm. This is a way in which it is required a contribution from all the stakeholders in order to create systems which are not gender biased, and we can enlarge the perimeter of this discussion also to other kind of discrimination or intersectional discrimination in order to allow the enhancement of this kind of system criteria for compensation, for career path, for the use of AI, for the use of algorithm in the working environment, in order to ensure that stakeholders may contribute, and in any case there is a visibility on how they are created, how they are trained, how they are fitted, how they are used. And the surveillance of the human in the loop or the human inside the loop, meaning actively contributing in this, is something that at European level, at least in this area of the world, is something which is known and can be used. in order to upstep in respect of making AI more diverse or more gender friendly, let's say it this way. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan. I remembered your call for transparency on this. Anna, do you share this need for transparency?
Sorry. Absolutely. It's so needed. I mean, first of all, I really want to say thank you to Christina for saying that this is not the end of humanity, but a new era for humanities. I hope that this is the case. I am not very certain. I mean, we are going to need transparency and we're going to need accountability as well, because not only it's the language and the data that we are feeding the machines and the system with, developers now are sharing that they don't have a total control over what the systems came up with. There is something called the black box in the processes of deep learning models, and these processes are not straightforward. They are difficult to understand, they are unpredictable, and the internal logic of these systems are eluding us, making it very challenging to identify and fix the problems of the biases that we know that they are there. And this is not only a problem of language, it's also a problem of all the other data that we are feeding. Images, the amount of pornography, that's something that really concerns me, that it's in internet. And the lack of transparency can make it very challenging to identify not only biases, but ensure that the system is operated as even intended. So yeah, I think we need a lot of optimism. We need some more than some regulation, but it's not only a matter of the European Union. I mean, the development of the AI, it's in the hands definitely of the United States and China at this very moment. They are leading this competition. And for my point of view, I don't have very good news to share regarding regulation. Not only the industry is very adamant in trying to avoid that. Their mantra is we break things first and then we apologize. And but also the new law that is now in front of the Congress in the United States, the big beautiful bill, the fiscal policy, among other dispositions, states that the states cannot regulate AI in the next 10 years. It's only a matter of the Congress of the United States. And the bad news is that Congress in the United States, in Washington, hasn't been able to do a lot of things with the two parties in agreement. So it's going to be very difficult to get a very clear, a very deep, and a very transparent regulation from the United States, I'm afraid.
Christina, you mentioned this positive notes at the end. Do you think there should be government involvement in promoting your transparency and your diversity, basically? How do you see the role of government?
Well, in the case of Spain, they are developing a gender table in Red.es, and they a few years ago. But now they are. I can see this. They are included in the Act, as Ivana mentioned, and there is also we have a Secretary of Artificial Intelligence. They are audit. They are going to audit all these algorithms to watch out this impact. So, but in terms of the percentage of the women in these decision groups or in developing group of artificial intelligence, is not changing. We have Mujeres Tech has 10 years ago, 10 years old, and in these 10 years is not changing the data of the women of the decision makers or in the women in these groups. So this is a question of the governments. They try to develop some initiatives, and they're very, very impacting initiatives, and very, very good initiatives, as for example, Technovation or Programamos. There are associations that they made education, or they made programs in different levels. But there are, I think that there's a very, very challenge, because the government now in Spain, we are living in a particular situation. But I hope in the future they are going to the people who is managing the companies really trust on diversity as an asset of these companies, as a powerful tool to change the world, to change the artificial intelligence, for example, to make artificial intelligence inclusive. But now, if they don't trust or don't think about it, we have to use the law, as Ivana mentioned, and we have to also, I recommend use taxes consideration, because if I don't care about diversity, maybe it's because the money. But it's pretty sad to think it about in this level. But we have to change. We have to force the government to. We have to force the economical and society stakeholders to force the diversity.
Thank you very much. Now we're running out of time, unfortunately, but we still have a couple of questions from YouTube. So I propose we end with those two questions. I haven't seen them, but Yolanda here, the technician, is going to produce them on the screen. So let's hope they are good. If algorithms learn from what we've written, yes, that's been that was the first question that we have seen also in the box. Is there another one? To be honest, I saw one in the chat box as well, which I thought was quite interesting. What impact will AI-driven automation have on female-dominated jobs? And how can we ensure that women are not left behind in this new industrial revolution? So that's interesting. Female-driven jobs. Is it a threat to those jobs? And will they be more transparent to men then as well? What is your take on that?
I think that the future is divided in two fields. One that believes that there is the machines will do everything for us, and another one that machines will enhance our capacities. The most positive view is the second one, obviously. The first one is a scenario that it's very real as well. But I believe that there are certain jobs that are kind of safe by the fact that not everything that is possible is probable, just because of the cost of it. I mean, maybe very physical works are going to be with us for a foreseeable future, but definitely there will be some works, for instance, in marketing, communications, fields that a lot of women are involved, that are going to have serious challenges in the future, because the replacement scenario is a little bit more possible.
Mm-hmm. The others on this issue?
Well,
sorry, Christina, please. Thank you. As a matter of fact, I think that the devil is in the detail. We should consider which are the female-dominated jobs, because history tells us that sometimes very often, some female-dominated jobs are jobs in which there is not a high opportunity of career, or a high opportunity of increase in professional income, or are not are linked to a more caregiving activity. So probably we should consider that female-dominated jobs are going to change. Maybe we are not going to have female-dominated jobs in the way we are used to think about, but we are going to have different kind of jobs in which probably women right now are not the majority, but can drive their path. So probably we need to think a different kind of taxonomy of jobs in which or professional opportunities or career pathways in which women can approach their career, their professional life in a different way. So maybe it's a good thing that some female-dominated jobs are going to be performed with a high part of AI, because this means that maybe women are going to take other kind of paths in which at this moment in time are not included. So the starting point is the most tricky one, in my view, not the end part.
This is a good question about automation, because it's the key thing about how what's happened at the work, no? Because this technology is going to stop the society and start to make us to philosophy, to start to philosophize, make it. And one of question is that because what happened with our work? According with Margaret Boden, it's true that there's automation that is coming. There are going to a lot of work that are going to be automated, but another work is going to be created. But it's a good point, because Anna, this is a female-dominated jobs. Yes, according to Margaret Boden, this is a specialist of cognitive science of informatics of University of Sussex. She said there are jobs that never are going to be sustituidos. There are for a machine. We think about taking care or legal intermediation or sales. This social interaction, emotional interaction. The machine is not going to is going to change for a human, because the human is they have more value in this process, because we know each other, we know managing the situation, social and emotional, that the machine does it. So but it's very important to be put focus on that, and taking care that how the jobs is going to be automated, and taking care that the women is in the path of the growth of the society, and don't lose the opportunity we have. They have the same opportunity. So there is very, very, very good question, and it's challenging totally.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
All right, I'm afraid we can have another hour of webinar on this one. I think we're coming to the end. I would like to ask as a final question to each of the three panelists. We are the Women Entrepreneurship based in Brussels, and we are interacting with the EU on action for the EU and promoting women entrepreneurship in the area of AI as well. If you had to choose between the following three options, which one would you give the priority? The way I see them is there is one is a pure discrimination against genders, women in particular, because of the algorithm that gives a bad credit scoring based on gender. That's one thing, pure discriminatory legislation and removing that, or promoting the training and the training from a young age onwards on technical issues and also on AI literacy, basically. So the training aspect, or on the funding aspect. So on having funding available for women entrepreneurs using AI. So which of the three would you recommend the Women Entrepreneurship Platform should take as a priority? I just do clockwise. Christina, you're a lucky one on top of my screen.
Okay, I am entrepreneur. I work with the social entrepreneurs. I work with women entrepreneurs, and I am in the case of artificial intelligence. I think that we have to start with the people, with ethical issues.
Training.
To accept, yes, training. We have to accept to the diversity as an asset. The young people has to know how this technology works, to understand the privacy, to understand a lot of things, and not only young people, only women and everybody, because this machine is used by humans and is developing by humans. So we have to start with education and ethical issues.
Fantastic. Anna?
I fully agree. And the society has to be changed from the society, and then it will catch up with the governments. Unfortunately, all the regulations and all the fights for transparency, they are always lacking at the end of the day, and it's lacking because of the lack of education. We have to live in a society that wants to be and embrace the diversity and embrace the equity and embrace the opportunity for all. And this is something that only education can provide. I'm not sure we are on the right path, but I'm gonna hope we are.
Ivana?
Thank you. Provided, I really think that a society should be changed by people who are in the social group. I would say a word in favor of legislation. This was because it is true that legislation or regulation cannot change necessarily the way in which people think, but they can give a strong push to the way people act. So it is probably not the most ethical approach to say, if you are not going to behave in a certain way, for example, avoiding gender gap or avoiding the inclusive approach in business, we are going to ask you to pay a very huge fine, or we are going to expunge you from the market. But it is something which may catch the attention of any business player in the field, even those who are really not interested in this kind of ethical, philosophical, and anthropological, I must say, discussion. This is not a women issue. This is a human beings issue. It's a business issue. So everybody should be treated. But we cannot force everybody to think in this way. We can have a nudge, sometimes gentle, sometimes less gentle, to push the business environment to go in a certain direction and to embrace these topics, even if probably it's not their first choice. At least at the very beginning, or when you are at the verge of great changes, legislation can be useful to set the path. Education is, of course, the core, at the core of this change.
And that's why we live in societies.
Yeah. Wonderful. I think the subject is maybe a menace, but it's maybe my pessimistic mind. You three presenters have really given a positive outlook on moving forward, despite the gender bias and the non-inclusiveness that we currently face. So that's very hopeful and promising. That brings us to the end of our webinar. We have a quarterly webinar as the Women Entrepreneurship Platform. The next one is likely going to happen in September this year on another subject affecting women entrepreneurship. And tune in, keep following us on the Women Entrepreneurship website, and you will hear more in due course about our next event. Thank you again for the panelists for your fantastic contributions. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Maurice, and thank you
Thank you.
for the team. Thank you.
Goodbye.